hopefully you do them on virtual machines, because we've seen them get popped by malware or something. Just it happens. You look at malware, so sometimes it just infects your system. So you want to be able to replace those really quickly, and you want to be able to change them really easily. You want to have I'll skip that part. You have analysis tools such as Wireshark, TCP dump, and NetWitness, which is a really great program, but it only works on Windows. It doesn't work with Wine. So it's fantastic except for that.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's really sad. And there's a lot of other tools. There's a tool called Chaos Reader, which unfortunately I don't think has been updated since 2003, but it's a really great program. I'll give a little demo of that briefly after a few more slides. So, this is what you're doing on the analyst system. You're looking at traffic. The most common way is this Wireshark, because it's easy. Your analysts don't have to look through a bunch of text, but sometimes text is a lot better, like in the command line on TCP dump or Tshark, which is the command line version of Wireshark.
So depending on the size of your organization and what you're looking at, the analyst systems, like we saw in that cool video at the beginning, they're looking at just a real-time display of what's going on. So their analysis system is a very basic system. It's got a heads-up display showing a graphical representation of what's happening on the network. And they have a very basic ability, probably, to look at packet captures. But when it comes to malware analysis, or if you really want to look at some targeted system logs or things of that nature, typically you're going to end up going to another system. The system that interfaces directly with your management interface, you really don't want to expose to malware, because you don't want that malware exposed to your management interface. You don't want the malware to go from here I'm looking at it to now it's on my IDS to now it's all over my network. Okay, and then there will be very limited ways to get rid of that type of information. Also, typically, a lot of the security analysts or the people using the analyst workstations will be running with reduced privileges, again, to try to minimize the effect of malware being able to take advantage of the systems, or really intelligent hackers jumping in and being aware to target those systems directly.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that they have, analyst systems shouldn't have internet access. It should be limited. If you have to do research, you have another system on a separate network entirely, and you don't pass things back and forth between the two systems. So it'd be great to have a lab. You can use it as a test system that you can test rules for the IDS, so you don't run it in production. A lot of places we've seen actually do run things in production. They test things and it messes things up. You can test configuration changes. You can be used as a backup in case the actual system fails, which could be pretty handy. It's also a safe environment, to play with malware, try hacks. You can try to trigger that rule you just wrote for the IDS and make it happen. See if you can actually get into your secured private network.
Your lab system is critical to the success of an operations center. You don't want to be making configuration changes on the systems that are actively watching your network. Okay? You also don't want to be testing malware or playing with packet capture dumps and downloading things off the internet to see what these scripts are doing to your network. And doing that anywhere on your network that's connected. Okay, this is a great place to do training if you have a large staff, which that costs money, but you got to train somehow. It's a great place to practice, but what, again, you don't want to do is ever connect your lab systems to your production environment. Ever. Please, ever.
I think you made this slide.
Did I do that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, you need analysts, you need people. There's a huge group of people involved in running a security operations center. It starts with the users. If you didn't have users, of course we all hate the users because they're the ones causing the problems, right? But if we didn't have them, we wouldn't need the network. So we need the users. We need the sysadmins. We need security zealots to go figure out what's going on, people to go surf the web, people to come here to DEFCON, people to pay attention. Okay? We have to have the analysts sitting there 24/7, so they can't all be at DEFCON. Somebody has to stay home and watch the network, right? Management has to do whatever it is management does. And you need the leadership guys. You need the guys with the checkbooks. Because there will be times that you'll want to spend some money. Now again, we don't want to build the big blue system that we saw at the beginning on that commercial with all the nice screens. You don't need it. We'd all love to have it.
That's management's job.
Yeah, we'd all love to have it, but we don't need it. Okay, but what we do need to do is sometimes we have to buy special taps. Sometimes we'll have to reroute some of the network hardware. Sometimes we'll have to buy a security zealot. If you don't have anybody on your staff, if you guys are really interested in wanting to do this, but you don't have that guy to help you guide that, you have to go find one. Sometimes those people cost money. Okay, So the key is you need to get everybody involved, though. Everybody has to understand what a security operations center does and what it means. Okay, so the users need to understand that they're being watched, not so that they know they're being watched, but so they know what they're being watched for. Okay, so that they can try to stay away from malware, so that they can try to do things that don't compromise the network. And then, of course, all the other folks need to be aware. Everybody has to buy into this.
All right, so going into the specifics of these people, you've got the analysts. You need to have people who, they want to learn, they know what they're doing, they know networking, they can understand some of the things they're looking at. And hopefully they've done some attacks themselves. Maybe they have their own home networks that they've built. Or if you're the analyst, I mean, you probably have your own home network that you build for downloading malware, attacking things, doing cross-site scripting or SQL injection or whatever you feel like is your thing. You want people who are comfortable with source code, maybe, with JavaScript, unfortunately, with Hex. Open to new ideas, not stubborn, not stuck in their ways, because things keep changing. You also don't want them to blink. They should never call in sick, and they shouldn't need sleep, basically. But that's basically the way, that's the people we are, so. They're pretty good at deductive reasoning and critical thinking. That's pretty important. You need to be able to make up for the lack of context, because there's often a huge lack of context with what you're looking at. You want to say something?
Oh, yeah. Yes, you can never have enough good analysts, ever. Most security operations centers, they're 24/7, depending on the size of your network. Okay, some of them have to start small. Some of them have to start very modest. It could be the one person who's watching an IDS because he saw it on a live CD and he put it up in his network just to see what's going on in his area. Okay, but you have to build to these things. You eventually may want to hire to these things or try to recruit to these things. But this is the core of what a security operations center is. In that first video where we saw all that cool technology, if none of those people sitting in that room had this skill set, it wouldn't matter what that technology was, because none of them would know how to use it. Okay? And the people that we saw on the previous slide, from leadership all the way through the users, if they don't believe in what's going on there, it doesn't matter what all that technology is. You can spend all the money you want. Money will not buy you security. Okay? These are the folks that are the core of the operation right here. Okay? They're the ones that will help get the information out to the users. They're the ones that will help get the information up to leadership. Go ahead.
You've got other experts as well. You've got the network administrators. They keep the whole thing going on. They can tune the IDS rules. They can update the rules, keep the systems up to date. You've got forensics experts, which would maybe take that malware that you see on your systems and go look at it and see what it's doing, see what kind of data might have been leaked, if any was. You have incident response. You got to have people to deal with the incidents, to go see that user and remove that software or go restore that server from a backup, etc. You've got external entities. In case of criminal action, you have to have law enforcement. You might have government involved. It could be if personal data is leaked of your customers, you might need to involve them.
Depending on the size of your network and the nature of your business, you may have some of these folks on your staff in your security operations center. You may have sysadmins there, so that when you are detecting attacks, you may be the one responding out to that user system to rebuild it and to tell them to stop surfing YouTube that day or whatever. The forensics guys could be part of your staff, or they may not be. You may have to reach out to consulting teams like Mandiant. Incident response, same thing. You may not have the capability of going out after the fact and responding to these and cleaning these up. But there are resources out there. So the information is available. There are a lot of books here that we've seen. There's a lot of information online about basic forensics and things of that nature. If you're starting out small and you're starting out as a project, if this is not an official organizational effort, you can play with it. You can try it. There's a lot of information out there that can guide you for free. But at some point, you may want to bump all the way down this list, and you may have to get people involved if you think criminal activity has taken place. You're not going to have the FBI on your staff, so you're going to need to know how to reach out to those folks. So look for other organizations out there that do this for a living, like CERT, and try to figure out ways to get information from them on how to take your information that you're finding and bring it to them.
And you've got the users, of course. They report things. They report phishing emails, stolen property, loss of data. They might do things, I'm pretty sure. They'll probably download malware, spyware, all that good stuff. They'll engage in inappropriate activities for your organization. You need to be able to watch for that. And the best thing is that they're the most widely deployed IDS if you tune them properly. If you teach them and train them, they can watch out for your network, and it can be a great resource.
The key is, if users aren't telling you that they're receiving phishing emails, you're not necessarily going to know if any of your users are being targeted. A lot of users, a good example would be my mother, unfortunately, who thinks she's not important enough for any hacker to want to target her system, but she was a spam relay for quite a long time. It's not her, and it's not her information, it's her computer, it's her internet connection. Whether it's her home system or whether it's her work system, okay? And if nobody else is watching out for that, and if your organization, your security operations center, isn't able to reach out to the mail logs to find out what's going on, then this is the kind of information where your users need to be able to give that to you. Your users can be a free intrusion detection system, okay? But they do need to be tuned properly, exactly right. They have to be trained. They have to know what to look for, okay? And as the security operations center folks, that would be our job to go teach them. We have to put it in a way that's easily digestible to them.
They've got management. They interface with other entities, keep all the pieces from falling apart, they make it rain, and that's the money joke. And someone has to make decisions. So,
I love management.
Yeah, love them.
Yeah.
All right, so then you've got the data. What is all the stuff you're looking at? What is a security operations center seeing? You got phone calls, emails, users, people talking to you, maybe even letters. Someone threatens someone. You've got log files from firewalls, hosts, proxy servers, DNS servers, web servers, and network events. These are the things that you just kind of churn through, and you look at it and see what's going on.
The focus of a security operations center traditionally, especially in this type of a forum, is network events. It's network logs, it's network analysis. But here we are at DEFCON, and we've got lock-picking stuff going on, and we've got social engineering stuff going on. There is a number of other disciplines of security that are involved in this. And while you're not necessarily going to be your security staff, if you work in an organization that has security rent-a-cops hanging around and watching people, and you need badges and all that, your security operations center isn't necessarily going to know if somebody tried to get into a machine room. You need to get involved in that information and get those logs from those entities. Okay, you need to integrate that into what you're doing. If 4 times in 1 week some folks are trying to get into the server room as a physical security measure, you may want to know that as a network operations center. Okay.
So handling all that data is a big deal. You have to be able to filter that data and get out the false positives and threshold the constant attacks, the things that are all the same that keep on happening, and you want to categorize that data. And categorization can go all sorts of ways. You have the thing that freaks you out, and you see an attack on your system. You've got something you've got to deal with, and something that maybe you want to research more.
Depending on the size of your network, the amount of hits, the amount of people scanning your network could be horrendous. Or if your network is sufficiently small enough, you may have absolute control over your perimeter and what's going by. There are internet resources that can tell you if there's a spike in secure shell scanning going on because of some recent activity. That can help you find out what's going on, so you need to be able to reach out to those resources. But without having all that information, without doing any of that filtering, all that stuff is showing up in your logs. You need to spend cycles looking at it, siphoning that down to figure out what's going on. If you know you're not running secure shell, do you care about secure shell scanning? Chances are you may not from an actionable point of view, but you may want to from a realistic point of view from an awareness perspective. Okay? So you need to be able to get all this information down, take the entirety of everything you're looking at, and figure out for your environment what's best, and pare it down into things that you can prioritize and take action on.
So CERT actually has some great categorization recommendations. They have 7 categories that you can filter things through, which will make things make it easier to look through things that are coming through your network. Instead of one screen full of everything. You've got Cat 1 for successful unauthorized access. That's when someone actually gets in and accomplishes what they were setting out to accomplish. You have Category 2 for denial of service. Category 3, you have installation of malware or maybe beaconing of malware. 4 would be improper usage. You could put spyware in there, or you could, because users download it. You could also put browsing porn. If that's not what your organization's into. And category 5 would be scans or attempted access. So you might have someone trying to do a SQL injection, and they were